You know, when you think about using AI for business, you probably picture complex code, massive data centers, the whole shebang. But what if I told you that you could get real, actionable insights in just a few hours, and with tools you already have right now? Well, today we're breaking down the exact playbook that makes that possible.
Yup, you heard that right. 3 hours. That's the entire challenge. We're talking going from a common, everyday business problem to a concrete AI-powered solution that you can actually use. I know, it sounds a little crazy, right?
It almost sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? The idea that you could really master the fundamentals of business AI in the time it takes to sit down and watch a movie? Well, that's the whole idea we're digging into today. The fact that you can get your head around these principles a lot faster than you probably think.
So here's our game plan for this journey. First, we're going to look at the why behind this whole 3-hour challenge. Then we'll go step by step through the playbook. How to set your goal, how to build a tiny but really powerful database. Then the fun part, asking the AI the right questions and turning those answers into actual action. And finally, we'll wrap up with the one big idea that ties it all together.
So what is the big idea here? What's the philosophy? Well, it's not about trying to turn you into a data scientist overnight. Not at all. It's actually the opposite. It's about stripping away all that intimidating tech so you can focus on what you're already an expert in, thinking about your business.
And you can see that in these guiding principles. It is intentionally so simple. We're just talking Google Sheets and a chatbot. This is not about learning to code. It's about flexing your business acumen. And the goal, the real goal, is to shift you from being just a copier of whatever the AI spits out to being a creator of real business recommendations. That, right there, is the critical shift in thinking.
And here's exactly how this 3 hours break down. First, you get just 30 minutes to define your problem. Think of this as setting your compass. Then you get an hour to build a small but really powerful data set. The next hour is all about analyzing it with the AI. And that last 30 minutes, that's the most important part. That's when you, the human, turn those digital insights into real-world action. All right, let's dive into phase 1, setting your business compass. I can't stress this enough. This is probably the most critical step of the whole process. Because before you ever touch a piece of data, you have to choose the right problem to solve. If you get this part right, everything else just flows. So for this challenge, the secret is to just stick to the left column. You want to start with simple, clear, measurable questions. Things like, hey, do people buy coffee and sandwiches together? You want to avoid those huge, complex questions over on the right. Why? It's simple. A small data set can't forecast your regional sales, but it can give you a quick, tangible win that you can act on right away. And to make this really concrete, the playbook follows 2 different case studies. The first one is super straightforward, just analyzing common products like coffee and sandwiches. The second one is a little more specialized. It looks at an impulse buy, like a sachet lipstick, to try and figure out what external factors, like, say, the weather or a promotion, might actually trigger someone to buy it. Okay, so now we're in phase 2, where we're going to actually create our data. And this is where a really important and kind of counterintuitive idea comes into play. That's right, quality over quantity. Forget about needing these massive, messy spreadsheets with thousands of rows. For this challenge, a small, clean, well-designed data set is way more powerful, even if it's only got a handful of entries. This is what we call the 20-row rule. And the idea is pretty simple. Even if your data set is tiny, say 20 or 30 rows, your key variables have to be spread out. So if you're looking at time of day, you can't just have morning sales. You need some data for the morning, some for noon, and some for the evening. Without that distribution, the AI literally has no patterns to find. And you can see in this table exactly how you design that data with a clear purpose. Just look at that last row. For the general products project, customer type is, optional. But for the sachet lipstick project, you very strategically add variables like promotion and weather. This is how you're teaching the AI, and honestly yourself, to look for those all-important external triggers that influence behavior. Okay, so we've got our problem defined, and we've got our tiny but mighty data set. Now for the really fun part, talking to the AI. This phase is all about the very human skill of learning how to ask smart questions. So you could start with a simple data question like this one. Which item sells best? And the AI will give you an answer. It'll be factual, but it's going to be pretty surface level. It's correct, sure, but it's not super useful on its own. But an insight question goes so much deeper. You're not just asking what, you're pushing it to tell you why and, most importantly, so what. Okay, why does this item sell best? And based on this, what should we actually do? This is the jump from just reporting numbers to finding strategic insight. This is where the magic really happens. And when you start asking those better questions, you get these kinds of powerful answers back. Suddenly, the AI is connecting time of day to a customer type, or it's noticing that two different products are often bought together. It can even spot correlations you might have totally missed, like linking bright lipstick sales to hot weather or seeing how a specific promo is working for one brand. These are the golden nuggets we're hunting for. And that brings us to our final and honestly most important phase, taking action. An insight is pretty much useless if it just sits in a chat window. We have to turn that discovery into real-world value. And this is where your human creativity takes over from the AI. The Playbook gives us a really simple framework for this, called the 3 C's. First, context. What's actually happening in your real-world business? Second, correlation. What's the specific pattern the AI found? And third, creativity. Based on that pattern, what's a smart, practical, unique action that you can come up with? Okay, let's see this in action. You ask the AI about what's bought with sandwiches. It finds the insight. A whopping 80% are bought with a drink. Now here's the crucial part. The AI stops there. The recommendation, hey, let's move the mini fridge next to the sandwich counter, that's your idea. Simple, practical, and driven by the data. Let's do one more with the lipstick case. The AI finds that red lipstick sales spike on the weekends. So your human-powered recommendation, increase the reorder point for red lipsticks toward the end of the week to meet that predictable demand. See that? It's a direct line from a data point to a smart business decision. So, after going through this entire process, what is the one big takeaway? Well, it all comes down to reframing how you think about AI and, more importantly, your role right alongside it. This quote just says it all perfectly. The AI is your brilliant, tireless, analytical assistant. It will find patterns faster and more accurately than any human ever could. But it is not the strategist. You are the strategist. Your job is to ask the right questions, to interpret the answers, and to build the creative strategy. That is where the real value gets created. And that really leaves us with this final thought. In an age where we have these incredibly powerful analytical assistants at our fingertips, the single most valuable skill we can develop is the ability to ask great questions. So, as you think about the challenges in your own work, in your own world, what's the next great question you're going to ask?